Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. In a world in flux where alliances are constantly tested and the global order is anything but stable, a single handshake can send shockwaves across continents, altering the course of economies and reshaping the security landscape for millions. On July 22, 2025, U.S. President Trump and Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. finalized a deal that's far more than a trade agreement. It's a turning point that's capturing the world's attention, with leaders and analysts everywhere scrambling to understand its full implications. This is a bold reset of a century-old alliance, with sweeping consequences for global trade, military ties, and the Indo-Pacific balance of power. The agreement signals a dramatic shift in how these two nations interact, and its effects will be felt far beyond their borders. The deal will impact factory workers in Cebu, farmers in California, and soldiers in the South China Sea. Everyday lives and livelihoods are now tied to the decisions made in distant capitals, as the ripple effects of this agreement spread. It fundamentally rewrites economic rules. Now, the Philippines faces a steep 19% tariff on all exports to the U.S., threatening to disrupt industries and challenge the country's economic resilience. Meanwhile, American goods enter the Philippines tariff-free, giving U.S. companies a major advantage and raising concerns about local competition and market fairness. Alongside this economic shift is a powerful military commitment, signaling America's intent to reassert influence in a tense region. Joint exercises and new deployments are already underway, raising the stakes for regional security. This agreement is a microcosm of global trends. Nations everywhere are rethinking alliances and dependencies, weighing sovereignty against the need for cooperation in an unpredictable world. It raises tough questions about the future of free trade, security, and the real-world impact of high-level diplomacy. Experts are divided, with some calling it a necessary evolution, while others warn of unintended consequences. The consequences will ripple from Manila's electronics prices to American export jobs, affecting families, businesses, and entire industries on both sides of the Pacific. This is a pivotal moment that demands attention, as the world watches to see how these changes will unfold and who will ultimately benefit or lose out. As we break down this historic deal, we'll explore not just what's on paper, but the powerful forces and human stories shaping an uncertain future for millions across the globe. The U.S.-Philippines relationship is a tapestry woven from colonialism, war, and deep cultural exchange. Over more than a century, the two countries have been bound together by a complex mix of power, partnership, and shifting interests. Their story is not just about governments, but about people, students, workers, and families whose lives have been shaped by this unique connection. After the U.S. acquired the Philippines in 1898, decades of American rule left a lasting imprint on Philippine society. The American presence brought new systems of education, government, and infrastructure, but also sparked resistance and a long struggle for self-determination. The echoes of this era still resonate in Filipino culture, language, and politics today. Even after independence in 1946, the two nations remained bound by a mutual defense treaty and strong economic ties. The U.S. became a key ally, providing military support and investment, while the Philippines offered strategic bases and a gateway to Asia. This partnership was tested by global events but endured through decades of change. The alliance has weathered storms. U.S. military bases brought both security and friction, and Manila's leaders have swung between Washington and more independent policies. Protests erupted over sovereignty and foreign influence, while leaders debated the nation's path. Yet the relationship adapted, reflecting the shifting priorities of both countries. A recent pivot toward China created uncertainty, but the return of the Marcos family and rising South China Sea tensions set the stage for realignment. As regional rivalries intensified, the Philippines found itself at the center of a strategic tug-of-war, weighing old alliances against new opportunities and threats. President Marcos Jr. sought to strengthen U.S. ties as a counterweight to China, while the Trump administration pushed for new trade terms. Both sides recognized the stakes: security, prosperity, and influence in a rapidly changing Asia-Pacific region. This deal is the product of decades of shared history and recent geopolitical pressure. It reflects not just the legacy of past agreements, but the urgent realities of today's world, where alliances are tested and new challenges emerge. The US wanted a solid Asian partner and better economic terms. The Philippines wanted security, even at a steep price. Both nations saw the value in renewing their partnership, hoping to secure their interests in an unpredictable region. The handshake between the presidents is both a return to a familiar alliance and a leap into a new, uncertain era. It's a symbol of trust, but also a reminder that history is always in motion, and the next chapter is still being written. The July 2025 pact marks a dramatic turning point in US-Philippines relations, representing a sweeping two-pronged overhaul of both economic and military ties. This agreement is not just another diplomatic gesture, it's a bold recalibration of priorities and power dynamics between the two nations, with consequences that will ripple far beyond their borders. Driven by a US-imposed deadline, the deal is starkly transactional. The United States imposes a steep 19% tariff on Philippine goods, a move that immediately raises costs for Filipino exporters and consumers. Meanwhile, the Philippines is required to drop all tariffs on US imports, opening its markets wide to American products and shifting the balance of trade in favor of the US. This is a seismic shift for Philippine exporters, who suddenly lose the preferential access to the American market that they've relied on for decades. Factories, shipping companies, and small businesses across the Philippines now face an uncertain future, forced to adapt to a new reality where their goods are less competitive abroad. In return for these economic concessions, the Philippines secures a renewed, though still somewhat vaguely defined, military partnership with the United States. This move reaffirms the historic 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, signaling a recommitment to shared security interests in the region. The military commitment is the glue holding the economic pain together, positioning the Philippines as a key U.S. ally in a tense and rapidly evolving Asia-Pacific region. With rising regional tensions and shifting alliances, this partnership is seen as a strategic bulwark against growing external threats. For President Trump, the agreement is a clear win for his America First agenda, demonstrating tough negotiation and prioritizing U.S. interests. For President Marcos Jr., it's a vital security lifeline, offering reassurance in an increasingly unpredictable neighborhood. Yet, the Philippine government's slow and cautious confirmation of the deal's details hints at internal debate and unease. Behind closed doors, officials weigh the high economic cost of this renewed alliance against the promise of greater security and international support. The timing of the agreement, along with the personal involvement of both presidents, underscores its immense political and strategic weight. It's a deal shaped by urgency, ambition, and the shifting tides of global power. Ultimately, this is a package of tough trade-offs, with far-reaching effects for both economies and the broader Indo-Pacific balance. The stakes are high, and the outcomes will be closely watched by allies and rivals alike. The agreement's true impact will only become clear in the months and years ahead, as both nations navigate the new landscape they've created together. The 19% tariff on Philippine exports to the U.S. is a major blow for Manila. Philippine industries, electronics, garments, agriculture, have long depended on U.S. market access. Now they face a stark choice: absorb the cost and risk bankruptcy, or pass it to American consumers and risk losing business to cheaper competitors. The result could be factory slowdowns, layoffs, and a drag on the Philippine economy. The electronics sector, a major export driver, is especially vulnerable. While some hope for adaptation or new markets, these are long-term fixes. In the short term, the tariff is a harsh reality, testing the resilience of Philippine industry and the Marcos administration. For the U.S., the deal is a windfall. American goods now enter the Philippines tariff-free. This gives U.S. exporters a major edge over rivals from China, Japan, and South Korea. American farmers and manufacturers stand to gain most, with cheaper U.S. wheat, soybeans, and machinery likely to flood the Philippine market. The deal is a showcase for Trump's transactional trade policy, leverage U.S. market power for direct benefits. Proponents hail it as a model for putting American interests first. But the influx of U.S. goods could devastate Philippine small businesses, unable to compete with American scale and pricing. The Philippine government faces a tough balancing act: deeper U.S. ties versus local economic disruption. The open door for America may come at the cost of Philippine industries. The deal's benefits for the U.S. are clear, but its impact on the Philippines is far more complicated. This is a textbook example of the trade-offs at the heart of modern global deals. The economic pain of the deal is inseparable from its military promise. The US and Philippines reaffirmed their 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, pledging to defend each other in case of attack. With South China Sea tensions rising, this military partnership is the strategic prize for Manila. Expect more joint exercises and expanded US access to Philippine bases, boosting America's forward presence in Asia. For the Philippines, it's a deterrent against Chinese aggression, especially in disputed waters. But a stronger US presence also brings risks, making the Philippines a target and stirring nationalist opposition at home. The Marcos administration is betting that security outweighs economic and political risks. The alliance is now deeper, but also more fraught than ever. The deal's impact is deeply personal for ordinary Filipinos. The 19% tariff threatens jobs in export factories, while stricter US visa rules add stress for families seeking opportunities abroad. Economic anxiety has fueled a surge in sophisticated online scams, with fraudsters luring victims, often in the US, with fake remote jobs. These scams exploit desperation and global connectivity, costing victims millions. Technology and crypto make these schemes harder to trace and stop. The economic fallout from the deal could push more people into the digital gray market as either victims or perpetrators. Policymakers must consider these human costs, not just the headlines. Behind every trade deal are real lives shaped by its consequences. The US-Philippines Pact is a bold move in the US-China rivalry. Experts see the economic pain for the Philippines as the price for a robust American security guarantee. The deal signals to China that the US is committed to the region, but it could also polarize Southeast Asia. Neighbors like Vietnam and Indonesia must now weigh closer US ties against the risks of angering China. A stronger US military presence may deter aggression, but it also raises the risk of accidental conflict. For ordinary people, this means living with heightened tension and uncertainty. The pact's success depends on follow-through. Will the US stand by the Philippines in a crisis? And can the Philippine economy weather the shock? This is just the start of a new, unpredictable chapter in the region. The July 2025 agreement is just the beginning of a new era for the US and the Philippines. The economic and military shifts are already reshaping lives and alliances. The coming months will test the resilience of Philippine industries and the resolve of both governments. The world is watching for China's response and for ripple effects across Southeast Asia. The human impact, jobs, visas, scams, remains at the heart of the story. As this chapter unfolds, staying informed is crucial. The story is far from over, and we'll be here to cover every step.